In this video, we're going to take a look at exam revision for coordinates. What we're doing here is consolidating everything we've covered so far for coordinates. We're going to take a look at 5 exam style questions to do this. So if we start with question 1 here, we're asked to write down the coordinates of the points A, B, C and D. Let's go in alphabetical order here. So for the point A here, well, we start from the origin. We can see A is up here. What we need to do now is go 2 units to the left. So we go 1, 2 units to the left. And that's on the same line here. And then how many units do we go up here? We go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Like we said here, we go 2 units to the left, so that's going to be minus 2. And then we've got 4 units, that will be positive 4. And there we go, we get our point there. So remember, coordinates go x first, then y. Okay, that's the solution there for the coordinates of the point A. Let's do B now. So for B here, we notice B is in this quadrant here. So how many units do we go across here? Well, we go from the origin, go 1, 2, 3, 4. That means the x coordinate here will be positive 4. And how many units do we go up then? Well, from 4, we go up 1, 2, 3 units. That would be positive 3. That's the coordinates for the point B. Do the same now for C and D here. So for C, how many units do we go along? Well, again, we always start from the origin here. We go 1 unit along. That will be positive 1. And how many units do we go down now in this case? Well, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So that's going to be minus 4 because we go down 4 units. Okay. And then finally for the coordinates for the point D here. Again, we start from the origin. How many units do we go along now? Well, we're going to the left here, so this will be negative. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'll be minus 4. And how many times do we go down now? Well, we simply go down 1 time. Okay, that will be minus 1 there. And there we have it. So that's the coordinates of the points A, B, C, and D, giving us a solution to question 1. Moving on to question 2 now, we're asked to plot the point with coordinates 3, 2, and we're going to label that point A. So 3, 2 here, remember we always start from the origin. So that's this point here, 0, 0. So the x coordinate here is positive 3. So that means we go 3 units to the right. So we count 3 units to the right from the origin. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. We know we're going to go up or down this line here, depending on the y coordinate. And the y coordinate here is positive 2. That means we go up 2 units. So we start from this point here and go up 2 units. So that's going to be 1, 2. That'll be our point there, which we're going to label as the point A. So that's A there. We're now going to do the same for B here. We're asked to plot the point with coordinates minus 2, 1. So again, we start from the origin here. Minus 2, that means we go 2 units to the left here. We go 1, 2, so that's minus 2 there. And then the y coordinate here is positive 1. That means we go up 1 unit there. Okay. And we're labeling that point as B. And there we have it. So that's our solution to question 2. So if we take a look at question 3 now, we're asked to write in the coordinates of the midpoint of AB. So AB here means this line segment from the point A, which is this point here, to the point B, which is this point here. So for the midpoint, we have a special formula to do that. So for the midpoint of 2 points like this here, all we essentially do is we average the x coordinates and we average the y coordinates. Okay. So for the midpoint here, that would be x1, which would be this x coordinate here. And then we add x2, which would be this x coordinate here. And we divide those by 2. And we do the same with the y coordinates. It's going to be y1 plus y2. And again, we divide that by 2. Okay. So for A here, we need the coordinates. So that's going to be 3 units to the left. We go 1, 2, 3. And then we go up 2 units. So 1, 2 there. So the coordinates of A are going to be minus 3 because we go 3 units to the left and we go up 2. It'll be positive 2. Do the same now for B. So for B here, how many units do we go across? Well, we're going to the right this time, so it will be positive. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. And how many units do we go up now? 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll be 3, 4. Like we said, what we need to do now is average the x coordinates here and average the y coordinates. So for my midpoint here, like we said, all we do is we add the x coordinates together and divide those by 2. That's going to be minus 3 plus 3. We divide that by 2, which we'll evaluate in a moment. We'll come back to that in a second. Then we do the same for the y coordinates here, so 2 plus 4, and then divide that by 2. So minus 3 plus 3, just be careful here with the negative sign. If I do minus 3 plus 3, that would just give me 0. If I do 0 divided by 2, that would give me 0. My x coordinate here for the midpoint is 0. And then for the y coordinate here, 2 plus 4 is 6. If I divide that by 2, I would get 3 there. Okay. In that case then, the midpoint here of AB would be 0, 3. Okay. If you wanted to plot that here, well, we don't go any units to the right or left, it's 0. But we do go up 3 units here. So 1, 2, 3. And there we have it. We can see the midpoint there. Okay, so let's just label that. That is our midpoint there. Okay, which is 0, 3. And there we have it. So that's the coordinates of the midpoint of AB, giving us the solution to question 3. So if we take a look at question 4 now, we're given that ABCD forms a square, and we're asked to identify the coordinates of D. So if we think about this here, we've got the points A, B, C. We're just missing D here. Okay. And we think about this, if this is a square, if I join these points up, so from A to B, that's that side of the square. Now join B to C up, we'll get something that looks like that. Now clearly if this is a square, we're going to go from C downwards here to D. Okay, we just don't know where D is at the moment. If we think about this, if this is a square, what that means then is that each side length here will be equal, they'll be the same. Okay, so from A to B, how many do we go up? We'll go up 1, 2. So this side length here is 2. From B to C, how many units do we go across? Well, we go 1, 2, because it's a square, right? So that would be the same. If we're going down now from C to D here, that means we now need to go down 2 units. So we go down 1, 2. We get this point here, which must be the coordinates of D. So that's D there. If we think about joining these up, then we get our square here. Okay. But each side length here is 2. In that case now, all we need to do is just identify the coordinates of D here. So for D here, remember we start at the origin, so how many units do we go along here? Well, we go 1, 2, 3. The x coordinate here will be positive 3. And what about the y coordinate then? We'll go up 1, 2 there. Okay, so the coordinates of D here are 3, 2, and that gives us the solution to question 4. And finally then, if we take a look at the very last question here, question 5, we're given that ABCD forms a rectangle this time, and we're asked to identify the coordinates of D. So pretty similar to the last question, but this time now, ABCD forms a rectangle rather than a square. So, if we think about this problem here, we've got A, B, C. Again, we're just missing the coordinates of D here. The first thing I'm going to do here now, is just join these points up together. Okay, so we can see what the rectangle is going to look like. So if I join these points up here, what I would advise if you do any question like this, do use a ruler, don't do it freehand like I'm doing. Okay, so we get something that looks like that. So if this is a rectangle here, what I'm going to have is an opposite length over here, and an opposite length up here. Okay, so what I need to think about then is for my rectangle here, this opposite length over here must be the same length as this length here, and this opposite length for B to C, or the line segment BC, would be the same here for the line segment AD. Okay, so how many units do we go down here from A to B? We'll go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that side length there is 5 units. Okay, so I'm going to put a 5 there next to it. What that means then is from C to D, that must also be 5 units. Okay, so if I go up 5 units now from C, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be this point here. Okay, so if I join those up now, we can pretty much see our rectangle here. If we join those up like that, we can see our rectangle now, because all I've got to do now is connect the point from A to D. Okay, so we join those up like so. Like you can see then, 1, 2, 3, so that's 3 units, and we double check that with the bottom, 1, 2, 3 units. Okay, and there we have it. So all we need to do now is just identify the coordinates of D here. So D in that case, remember we start from the origin here, 0, 0. So how many units do we go across here? It's a little bit tricky from our diagram, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase this point here and this line just so we can see it. So we go 1 unit to the left, go to -1 here, so the x coordinate is -1, and then for the y coordinate here, how many units do we go up? Well, we go up 1, 2 there, so the y coordinate is +2. And then we have it, so that's the coordinates of D. That gives us the solution there to the very last question, question 5. That brings us to the end of this video on exam revision for coordinates. In the next video, we're going to take a look at an introduction to pictograms.